All right, guys. Thanks for bearing with us, okay? So we're doing the best that we can. We will get things worked out. It's going to be a bit of a process, okay? But anyway, for those of you that have been attending classes for a while, obviously some of that information is going to be deeply plugged into your body, and so you might not, need to go over those details. But those of you that are new to Jiu-Jitsu fully understand the experience. It's a very steep learning curve, so it is important to kind of, know all those details, okay? Now, let's say that we have the stance, we have the footwork, we also have the side break fall down. Now we're ready to kind of put everything together, all right? So I'll do the technique one more time, all the way through, and then I'm going to go ahead and break this down piece by piece. Okay, so a lot of times in a street situation, people are going to be headhunters, right? They're gunning with their biggest shot right for the dome, right? And we want to make sure that we're protected. So my first layer of protection is the distance, okay? Distance management is incredibly important. And so a good way to kind of learn the distancing is with my partners. He's in his modified stance, left lead, and so am I. He's going to extend his lead punch, and I do the identical thing. This is basically the range that we should be operating from. Okay, again, I'm trying to avoid being inside anybody's immediate striking range. Why? Well, that leaves me with lesser reaction time, right? So at least from out here, I can see what he's about to do, and I can prepare myself, all right? So distance management. As Professor Bobby closed the distance with that rear hand haymaker, we're going to absorb the shot on the outside of our arm, doing what we call a triangle block. Now when I do the triangle block, it's kind of like I'm combing my fingers through my hair, right? And my hand is going to wrap the back of my skull. Not the back of my neck, but the back of my skull, okay? To further reduce the space, I anchor my elbow tight towards the side of my head, and I shrug my shoulder. On the opposite side of my head, I also need to be defended. So with my right hand, the palm of that fist is anchored to the jawline, elbows glued towards the body. Now, as I'm receiving that shot, I want to ride it, okay? So I'm going to be rolling inwards slightly. Make sure that you do not over-rotate. We don't want to expose the back of our head to the incoming shot. I just kind of want to take a little bit of the pop off of it, all right? So as that shot comes in, we block and we ride, all right? Now, as soon as he makes contact on our cover, it's almost like he's pressing a button, and I immediately clinch onto him. And we're going to have an overhook as well as an underhook, okay? So, we range, he comes in with that rear haymaker, boom, I'm blocking, all right? So he just landed that shot on the cover. I'm going to take my left hand, and I'm going to lace it over his tricep. And the top of my forehead, not the top of my head, top of my forehead. You guys see this nice little Gracie Baja emblem here? Well, that's where my head goes. I'm going to start to circle around to the opposite side of the body. 1, 2, and I get my underhook, okay? And so you can see where this underhook is, guys. I'm kind of wrapping around his body, and I'm grabbing onto the belt. Now, let's say that you were training at home, and you didn't put your belt on. Completely fine, guys. You can just cup the hip. You can just cup the hip, right? And this will suffice. All right, so on the overhook, I'm going to C-clamp his tricep, right? So cover, get that overhook, forehead in the chest, angle around, okay? So now I have my clinch. This is what we refer to as a safe stance. Okay, the most dangerous place for me to be in a fight a lot of times is going to be like right here. Okay, I absolutely have the upper hand if I can manage to angle off of my opponent. All right, so I'm not completely, out of danger, but it definitely provides me with a lot of striking opportunities, and I have a distinct advantage. Okay, so comes in, we block. We wrap, head goes into the chest. I step around. Now, what's going to happen is I want to make sure that I create a little bit of space so that my hips can kind of fit in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lead knee and I'm going to lift it right up into his abdomen. Okay, it's a full-on knee. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting with the point of my knee, not with the top of my quadricep. So I'm pointing the toes on the striking limb so that the top of the foot is flush with the shin. And I want to make this knee pointing, right? So that heel is tight towards the glute, and I'm lifting up on the ball of the foot, right? So all I want to do is kind of hit him and force those hips back. And that's where my body fits in, all right? So he comes in, I block, I get the overhook, I go ahead and get the safe clinch, all right? And then I knee, boom, okay? So from here, now I start fitting into my throw. I take my forward leg and I rotate on the ball of the foot so that my heel swivels just inside his stance. My end goal is to get both of my feet slightly inside of his stance. I don't want to be one in, one out on either side, and I definitely do not want both legs out. I want both legs in. Hip position is also important. I want my belt level below my opponent's, and I want my hip extended slightly beyond his, okay? So a lot of times I'm going off sense of touch, so I should be able to feel his thigh resting in the crease of my bum. That lets me know that that's kind of the boundary. I should not surpass that, right? Because otherwise he can counter me. So once I feel like his thigh resting right in the crease, my hip has kind of gone to exactly where it needs to be, and that's where I start to hit my throw. Block, over, head in the chest, we angle off, I knee, boom, he steps back. I go ahead and I pivot, 1, 2. As I'm taking my second step, this is where I start to get my hips fitting into the correct position. I'm lowering them and extending them, okay? And then I basically extend my legs. You can see how he's just resting on my body, guys. I'm not using any strength whatsoever to carry his weight. This is just structure, right? So when you guys have your opponent up on top of your hips, you should still have your head elevated above the belt line. We don't want to have our head way below our belt because, you know, when you're carrying somebody's weight, you can lose your balance and you're going to spear the floor with your head, right? So you should still have your head above your hips, all right? So be very careful of that detail. Cover, over, head in the chest, safe clinch, boom. We knee, he moves back. 1, 2 with our footwork up. Now, we don't have a nice surface at home to land on, take it to the fit in. Pause right there. But if we do, we're going to go ahead and hit our throw. Now when I hit the throw, guys, I am just pulling him through all the way to the ground. But notice that I'm still tethered to my opponent. I'm still securing their tricep. I'm not just abandoning them and whatever happens, happens, okay? Part of this is I'm reducing the impact by pulling up on their arm, but 2, it tethers me to their body, which is important for maintaining control. We want to be able to have control all the way from the feet to the ground, all right? So we'll keep angling so you guys can see this from a bunch of different ways. So again, he comes in, block, cover, forehead in the chest, and I angle off. I knee, he moves back, 1, 2, up, and notice how Professor Bobby works on his break fall. Now, if you notice, when we've been drilling this, I've been kind of encouraging my partner to roll back to the flat of their back. Why? Just so that when I'm positioning my shin in the rib cage, I don't risk, you know, any kind of injury, all right? So I'm going to ask that my partner kind of rolls to the flat of his back, and then that's where my knee goes into position. When we have knee to belly, we want to make sure that it's the south leg that's positioned on the abdomen, not the north leg. And I know they call this knee to belly, but realistically it's more like shin to belly, right? So that shin is resting right on the abdomen, and then on the opposite leg, we want that leg extended. If I place my knee on the mat, portion my weight's on my opponent, a portion of my weight's on the mat. The mat is not the person I'm trying to control. It's this gentleman right here. So I'm up, and notice that this leg is extended at a 45-degree angle. You can see the flat of my foot is on the floor. All right? So from here, I still have that overhook. I'm basically going to get a key lock. Right? The palm of my right hand is on the shoulder joint. I'm creating force downwards, and my left hand is lacing basically just right below the capsule of his elbow, and that's where I grab my forearm with a monkey grip. To get the finish, guys, I'm going to squeeze my elbow tight towards my rib cage as I push down on the shoulder, and I kind of almost throw my hips forward slightly, and so I get a nice hyperextension on that elbow. All right? So it's a lot of pieces in this sequence. All right? Let's look at it again. So he comes in, I block, overhook, forehead in the chest, I angle around, I get my grips, I throw that knee right in the abdomen. He steps back, 1, 2, I fill my hips into that space, up, and over. He falls. For his safety, he rolls back to the flat of his back. I go knee to belly, right hand goes on the shoulder, left hand goes on my forearm, and I squeeze my elbow, so I push down on the shoulder, and advance my hips for the tap. All right? So I hope you guys enjoy that first sequence, and we'll be back with some more.